Hey guys, and welcome to a very special Roland Garros preview. It's with Cam, as you can tell, and it's going to be live. So if you're tuning in, then lucky you. We're going to do a preview of the tournament, talking about the ATP and WTA side, and then towards the end as well, we'll have a Q&A section where you guys can ask your questions. So you can get your questions in now if you want as well. We'll just address them at the end. But Cam, first of all, how you doing, mate?
Good, thanks, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, all good. We were just saying that the weather's a little bit better here in the UK, so I can't complain. How's weather there, actually? It must be... Is it scorching? No,
No,
it's not.
freezing. Well, freezing. It's cold. It's wet. It's miserable.
When you say freezing, how cold is it actually?
Like 5 degrees, 10 degrees.
Okay, fine. It's
Not
pretty cold
terrible,
to go.
but yeah.
Pretty cold. Pretty cold. Cool. We've got Robin in the chat, Ghost as well, David, Dutchy, Amanda, Peaches, Tim, all you people, thanks for tuning in, and Manor as well. Great to have you guys on. Cam, should we start with the ATP side? Because I feel like that's actually arguably a bit more open than the WTA side this year for Roland Garros, which is not something that we say very often. But first, I guess we can talk about actually the tournaments recently. So Rome, Medvedev. Let's start with him. I mean, how surprising was that? He gave himself a 2% chance of winning Rome. After they interviewed him, and he said normally it'd be 0% chance on any clay court tournament, but because he felt pretty good, 2%, and he went on and beat Zverev, Tsitsipas, and Rune in the final as well. And he's looking quite good. Is he a real contender, do you think, for Roland Garros?
Well, yeah, I thought he'd do better in Madrid and then not so good in Rome.
Yeah, because how quick it is, yeah.
Yeah, but then he flipped it around. So, yeah, I have no idea. I mean, hopefully he can. I mean, so many players last year, or especially someone like a Jabeur last year, played so well up until the French and then just completely lost. So hopefully he does the job at the tournament that matters the most. You know, all these warm-up tournaments are great, but, you know, as long as he makes it to a fourth round of a French, again, it depends on the draw. We're going to find out that tomorrow, I guess. But if he gets a decent draw, even last year and the year before, without a decent draw and no hope, he still made the fourth round of quarterfinals. So at least he's got some good form at the French.
Yeah.
But he's probably going to, if he gets drawn a Frenchman in the first round, anything could happen. So hopefully he should be able to keep it going. I mean, he's lost to 2 guys on clay this year. He's won 5 trophies in general. So yeah, he should be right.
And one of the guys that he lost to, he avenged it, which was Rune, right? So in Monte Carlo. So that's even better. And the fact that Rome plays so similarly to Roland Garros. Now everyone always says Rome, if you do well in Rome, then most likely you're going to do well in Roland Garros. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win it, but if you go deep in Rome, then most of the time you tend to go deep at Roland Garros. And so that's fantastic, I think, in my opinion, because everyone was saying and writing him off in terms of being able to do well on the clay. And I think he played into it a little bit as well, just to put pressure off himself, I feel. But now I think it's hard to deny that he does have, as some people call him, he's Clayvedev now. But which is everyone loves their nicknames. I know you do as well. But I think, like for Medvedev, one thing that really interested me is the fact that he's actually been willing to tweak his game, and I wonder whether, like, towards the start of the year, he was a lot more aggressive on the forehand and actually trying to hit winners and even shorten points at times. He was coming forward to the net, which looked really awkward, and his volleying is very strange. But you know, he was trying to do something different and trying to actually evolve and adapt. Which, to be fair, we say that players on tour do it, but I feel like only the real elite do it, and then that's what made and has made Rafa and Roger and Novak so good, is that they continually try to improve. I feel like Alcaraz is now doing that as well. You see, like, Rune has been doing it. And I feel like with Medvedev, he's actually willing to do that as well. But the funniest thing to me is that I felt like in the past he was so stubborn on clay that he thought, look, I'm just going to play the way that I play. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, then the surface is stupid. But now it's like, oh, hold on. I'm actually been in really good form. Let's not just say, okay, this is a write-off for a few months and then have to start again when the grass court season comes. And I feel like he's given himself more height and like coverage over the net with his forehand and backhand at times. Like he actually has different looks on both sides. Instead of just saying I'm just going to hit flat all the time and know that I might not get as much purchase, he said, hold on, I've got the defensive capabilities to be able to grind from the back of the court and most likely outlast these guys from the back of the court if I hit the ball deep enough and I give myself a chance. So why not hit with a bit more air, a bit more topspin? And you know what? I should be able to grind them out. And I feel like he did that against Rune. It was almost classic, backboard Medvedev on a very slow clay court, which in the past I kept on asking myself, why is he not doing well on clay? Because his surface is perfect for defensive players. But it's just because of the way that he was hitting his ground strokes, I feel. But nowadays, he's now willing to adapt, and it's made a massive, massive difference, which is great. And also, I feel like he moves better. I felt like he hated sliding, but now he actually moves pretty well. Did you find the same thing? Because I know you've watched a lot of his matches as well.
Yeah, I noticed, like, I don't know if it might have been both Madrid, Indian Wells. He was drop shotting.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like the first, like, it was always like he was practicing on the hard courts for what was going to come up. But also, I think it's all mainly mental. I think that's the biggest thing. It's like he's come in with a way better mentality. And it was funny because I think I don't know if I watched the very first match he played on clay in Monte Carlo, and just to see whether or not he was going to blame the court for all these errors or if he was going to embrace. And it was, and then we saw that Zverev match that he that's when things became serious. Like, okay, he's kind of turned a corner, and probably a good time to get Zverev now while he's still coming back. But like he looked like he actually was trying to play clay court tennis. And like you said, he can grind out the baseline as well as anybody. I mean, him and Djokovic can play 40, 30, 40, 50 shot rallies. It's like, but for some reason, he just didn't have the patience or something when he played on the clay. So I think mentally, he's definitely decided to play. And I heard I think it was last week, he said in an interview that, like, when he dropped out of the top 10, it was like, it felt real bad for, because somebody asked him about, like, do you want to be number one again? And and he said something like, dropping out of the top 10 really hurt. And I think because that happened straight after Australia. And since then, he's just been on this tear. Even up until, even Madrid, you can say that he had a pretty good result compared to usual, clay court years. And I mean, he was wasting so many points by not embracing the clay. Like you said, from Indian Wells to the grass, he was just taking that time off, except for maybe a bit of a flukish run at the French, last year and the year before. I know he was injured last year, but like just losing, 3,000 points at the three major ones before the French, and then maybe Barcelona for another 500. I mean, while all the other guys, Alcaraz and Tsitsipas, are all gaining points, he's just sitting back, losing first rounds and getting angry. It's like now he's almost number one because he's embraced it. So it's gonna, hopefully he can finish the clay season off. He's only got one tournament left, so if he can get through that and do something well, then he's had the most successful clay season he's probably ever had. He's won more matches, I think, than most years since like 2017 or something. So.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. No, he's a good, and I think, as you said, he's definitely turned a corner. But it's going to be interesting to see how the draw is tomorrow when it comes out and who he's got. I feel like the draw could get quite interesting. And for example, if he was to get, I guess maybe someone like Seb Korda is not a great example because he's been injured. But given that he beat him in Australia and he's not bad on clay, but if he was to get a real clay quarter, someone like a Sebastian Baez, to be honest, like early on, that could be difficult. He probably will win, but it could go 4-5 sets. It could be a bit of a hard slog. And we saw Zverev struggle with him last year as well. And there's other players as well that come through. But I think it's going to be interesting to see how he approaches it as well, and whether we do see him potentially break down. If he goes a set or two down at the French, does he mentally capitulate, or does he say, I'm going to stand strong like he's done so since the Australian Open, as you said? For sure. But I guess it's a good comment here, actually, David, saying he's never really gone into the clay with momentum from February and March, another factor. So maybe the confidence factor as well, going into the clay. He's almost like, I've got nothing to lose. I'm playing good tennis. So it's gone from 0% to 2% chance, apparently, from what he was saying as well. Do you think he's a real contender? Like, before we move on from him, do you think if you were to say, like, when you talk about favourites, should he be in the equation? Should people actually be discussing him because he won Rome? Or do you think it's okay, he's played well, but he's still not a real contender to win the title?
Yeah, I mean, look, he won arguably the most important tournament before the French for form. I mean, last year, Alcaraz was coming in after winning Madrid and skipping Rome, and a lot of people thought he was going to go win the whole thing, and then he lost to Zverev in that sort of rematch. So he's won Rome, which is, Madrid. If you had won Madrid, you would have thought, maybe Madrid's faster. It's not the same as the French. Maybe we shouldn't look too hard into it. But winning Rome and then beating Tsitsipas, beating Rune, like getting revenge over Rune, and then beating Zverev again. I mean, those all in straight sets. He has to be a contender just by that run alone. But like with the men's draw, I think, like you said at the start, it's very hard to pick. Probably more open than anything, and it's going to come down to who gets who and not so much who gets who in the semis, because Djokovic could be in either half, and if he gets Medvedev and Djokovic in the semis, I mean, there's a lot more players to worry about before that point anyway. But yeah, like those lower seeded players or all the unseeded players, like you mentioned, Baez, who's been pretty good, nearly took Zverev out. That could be a frustrating match for Medvedev. Humbert's been great, winning challenger events in front of a French crowd. That could be a nightmare in the first couple of rounds. He could get Zverev in the third round again. And in 5 sets, that might be different for Zverev. He might want to get that, after losing 3 in a row now, he wants to get that revenge. So, yeah, I mean, he should, but I think he should be at least top 5 favorites to win because he won Rome. And, serious contender. I mean, if he won the French Open, that would be ridiculous, but also awesome. I think he's got to be a contender just because he won Rome, and just like Rublev and Alcaraz and all those other guys that we all expect. I mean, you win Rome, we got to take him serious now.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I think, as you said, if you win Madrid, it just plays a little bit differently because of the altitude and the pace, and you made a really good example about Alcaraz winning it last year, and then he skipped Rome because he's fatigued or injured. I forgot exactly why, but then Zverev beat him, of course, in the quarterfinals. And I mentioned that when I did my power rankings for Roland Garros, that's something to cater, like going into this, is that yes, he played Rome this year as well, but then he lost in the second round. It wasn't ideal preparation, but at least he's got a feel for the courts, whereas I feel like last year he didn't really have any of that. And then there was a lot of great expectation, but Madrid is just so different, I feel like, conditions-wise. It's clay, but as we know with hard courts, like, you play in, what was it, in the Nur Sultan hard courts compared to Australian Open hard courts, it's like worlds apart, right? So almost very, very different in the end. I mean, before we get on to the other contenders, like Rafa, I mean, how much of a miss is that for the tournament? Because everyone knows who watches the channel that I'm a Rafa fan, and obviously it's a massive shame that for me that he's not playing. But I think generally speaking, a lot of people are saying that's a bit weird that we're going to have Roland Garros without him. It's exciting in a way because it's now so open. I feel like it's even more open than it would have been, given that I'm not sure if he would have gone into it a favourite, given that he'd played no matches, but he of course would have been up there. But given that he's now going to be potentially retiring next year as well, so he could potentially only play one more. I mean, what were your thoughts on that as well when it came out? And disappointed, I'm assuming, that we're not going to get to see him. At Roland Garros.
I was like, I was probably thinking it was going to be worse than I'll retire next year. Like, I was relieved that it was kind of like, I'm just not playing the French, and I'll be back hopefully later. Because I think a lot of people were expecting it to be like, I'm done today. So that was more of a relief, I think. But like not having him there. I know he withdrew from like the third round in somewhere in the middle of 2010s. I can't remember exactly when. And I think that was probably weird for most people in that tournament because he was out of the tournament in the first week, which never really happened. So we've kind of seen that, I guess. But I mean, it's exciting. I mean, we could get a repeat of a 2004 French Open, which was one of the most wild French Opens ever. I mean, you kind of got a lot of similarities with, Djokovic being the kind of the big dog where Federer was sort of in 2004, I guess, like with the 2 slams, but still he was the guy who everyone was, or the 3 slams. Sorry, he had 4 slams by then. But he was like the guy that everyone was like, worried about. And then he lost early, and then it was just whoever was left at the end, and we got Gaudio winning. So it could be something like that without Rafa. And Djokovic, of course, he's not He's had injuries in the last couple of months, so is he going to be 100%? Because I mean, like if this was last year or even the year before, you would have said no Rafa, then Djokovic will win, and then you would say, if he wasn't going to win, then it would have been crazy. But now it's like it's not as easy as no Rafa, Djokovic will win because Djokovic hasn't been winning on the clay. So it's sort of, it's going to be really strange.
Yeah, agreed. You made a good point that if normally Rafa doesn't win, then you just default is like, okay, well, Novak on clay. But yeah, I mean, he's looked interesting, I would say. Like he's been good in spurts on the clay, but then he's also looked quite vulnerable in other moments as well. And of course, he's had the elbow issue. He still had it strapped, like even during his most recent loss as well to Rune. I don't know if that's 100%. He also just doesn't seem super comfortable. He was obviously complaining about there being a lot of clay in Rome, and that at the French Open. I'm sure he won't have that issue there, but he just seemed a little bit irate and not particularly happy. His box as well. He has some talk with his box saying you're telling me the wrong instructions, and not really sure whether on-court coaching is helping him because I feel like he normally just figures out stuff for himself, and I don't know whether he's starting to rely on them a little bit, and they're not giving him the desired response that he wants, and it's maybe making him overthink or second guess himself. But what are your views on how he's looked so far? And like as you said, he's not really we'll talk about it in a bit, but he's maybe not a clear favourite, and he's not way out there as a clear favourite. But in a best of 5, I'm assuming he's still, the man to beat because best of 5, that is. Yeah. What do you think in terms of his form going into it? Like, how's he look from the matches you've watched, and like, what do you think he's still the man to beat?
Yeah, I mean, he looked like the 3 losses, like losing to Musetti, he looked sore. That match, like both guys looked, it wasn't a pretty match. Even before that, there was matches where he was losing or he was playing tie breaks against qualies and things that you wouldn't expect. And then the loss to Lajovic, I mean, you could argue that playing against a countryman and someone, a friend, if he wasn't 100%, he's at least I know they've got the Serbians have a strong bond, so it sucks to lose, but also hey, I lost to my buddy, so yeah. And then I mean the Rune loss was the strangest because he did look, even when he lost a set to Dimitrov, that was strange.
Yeah, because he normally destroys Dimitrov, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He normally destroys him, yeah.
And he fell asleep for like 4 games, and then we're in a third, and then he destroyed the third, and you're like, oh, what was that about? And then Rune the first set just came out hot, and maybe Djokovic got a little lucky to win the second and force the third, but it was no contest in the first and the third. So that was just strange. And I know he made, maybe not an excuse, but made the comment at the start of this clay season saying, oh, I never really start well on clay. Monte Carlo, I usually lose early, blah, blah, blah. But then it kept happening. He pulls out of Madrid, so he doesn't get that extra warm-up as well. But yeah, I mean, it's just been a strange clay season. But then he was injured at the Australian Open and he won the whole thing and destroyed all the big threats that we expected to push him if he was injured and he's going to play Rublev. Oh no, it's going to be tough. But he just kept destroying everybody. And I mean, even against Rune, he didn't look as injured, but he just didn't look as motivated. Like he didn't look bothered by what was happening. He looked more bothered about what was happening when he played Norrie in the match before. But I mean, Grand Slam. I think with all the greats that they've got everything else already, so they just want to win the slams. And I think we're hopefully going to get a different, like a more interested version of Djokovic on Sunday, Monday when he comes and plays. But yeah, it's been a strange clay season for him.
Yeah, not ideal preparation, I think, probably to say the least. But maybe someone just used to hit him and then he'll get fired up.
Yeah, there's a reason to get angry.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Also, I can see some new people getting into the chat as well. Thanks for tuning in. We're just going through a review of the ATP side, so we've gone through a couple of players. I'll timestamp it at the end as well if you missed it. Then we'll do WTA and then we'll do a Q&A section at the end. So get your questions into the chat and obviously chat amongst yourselves as well. But for me, I think, yeah, as you said, like Djokovic stopped being great preparation. I do still feel that he's the favourite, but but only by a bit. Only by a bit. And mainly because Alcaraz didn't go super deep at Rome. I feel like if he had, then you might be saying, well, okay, yeah, it's not best of 5 Rome, but still Alcaraz is looking like the man because he's then played really well in Rome. But because there's that like question mark, Alcaraz didn't play too well in Rome, you're saying, well, okay, Djokovic, yeah, he still made the quarterfinals and he lost to Rune, who seems to have his number at the moment. So maybe that's just okay. If he doesn't get Rune or doesn't get someone else, then he might be fine going forward. And the draw is a massive part of it as well, as you said, for sure, no doubt. But talking of Rune and Holger Rune, I mean, how impressed have you been by him? Because he's looked, in my opinion, he's been one of the standouts in the clay court swing. Made the final of Monte Carlo, made the final of Rome. Hasn't quite been able to get over that final hurdle and win them, but won Munich, which is obviously a bit decent win as well. There were some good players in that tournament. What are your thoughts on him and his chances in a best of 5, given that he's had cramping issues in the past, but maybe they seem a thing in the past as well now, not really affecting him as much. Has he settled down? Is it all Patrick Mouratoglou and Holger Rune to go win the French Open?
Yeah, like he's had. I mean, I don't know if he's won the most matches on clay, but he's got to be close. 2 finals of Masters plus a title plus. I think did he lose to Fokina in Madrid? So in a tiebreaker 3rd set, so not a easy loss. Like his worst loss was to Medvedev the other day. So lost to Rublev, Medvedev, and he's got a title and he's lost to Fokina in Spain, which happens. And yeah, that is the biggest question mark for me. Is he can play 3 long sets, but can he play 5 long sets? Because we did see we saw last year, or we've seen in the past, that he has had cramping issues, and then if you play in a long, slow clay court match, is he going to be able to get through that not once, maybe twice or 3 times to win the whole thing? Is he able to do that against Djokovic in 5? He's beaten Djokovic in 3 twice. Can he play Djokovic in 5? Winning 2 sets to 1, it's like that's not done yet. So and again, like playing Alcaraz in 5, once he gets to the second half of the tournament, is he going to be able to play? Because he might get a 5-setter in the first week, and then you got to keep going. So yeah, like that's the only thing. But if he doesn't have to play 5 sets, or if his body doesn't fail him, then he's got to be make it at least the quarters, if not the semis. What's he? Is he seeded 6 or 5? He's seeded 6 or 7. I think it might be somewhere in there. So then he'll avoid playing. Well, he'll hopefully avoid playing one of the big guns if he gets a nice draw. Maybe he plays Rune in a quarterfinal again. But he seems to he had Rude's number the other day. So maybe, that might be a bigger threat playing Casper Ruud than it is playing somebody else. Again, it comes down to like how this draw is going to look. But
I agree.
Yeah, like fitness issues is probably the biggest question for him, or for me, for him anyway. But like we've seen that he can beat pretty well most guys.
Yeah, ability's there for sure. And Sean's saying Rune's fitness issues are surprising. He seems like the type to train hard. I guess it's not really about training hard, but more he's pretty young still, so his body's still like growing.
Yeah.
Into he's still maturing, and then also
all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly, all that stuff, and then also it's all to do with electrolytes, isn't it? Like I know each athlete has a specific like mixture of like salt and water and electrolytes and whatever. I know Murray had cramping issues last year, and he was like, "Oh, we've done a sweat test and it's coming back normal. We don't know what's wrong. Like maybe my drink isn't right that he's taking every match and whatever." So I don't know, but he hasn't had it as much recently, so I'm hoping that's not the case. But the biggest thing is what Djokovic has done really well, and I was saying this the other day, is that if you think about these younger players coming through, like Musetti and Sinner and Rune and Alcaraz, last year, who was up 2-0 up against Djokovic? Sinner and Wimbledon, lost him in 5, and then the next 3 sets were really comfortable. Musetti 2 years ago at Roland Garros, first 2 sets, Musetti won after that. Djokovic dominated, then he retired in the fifth set because he was about to get bageled, I think it was. So, I think Djokovic and and Nadal in the past as well, they've all known how to pace themselves, and I just wonder whether these guys, they kind of go gung ho because they're like, we can beat you in straight sets, and then as soon as they have to fight in 4 or 5, they start kind of just drifting off a little bit because they're not able to keep up that consistent level. And I wonder whether that could also be a factor. But I guess that comes with experience, which you can't buy, I guess.
Yeah,
which is a crazy thing. But it has to happen at some point where it converges, where the younger crop are good enough and can pace themselves enough to beat Djokovic, who's now getting older, or Nadal as well. So I'll be interesting to see if this is the tournament that happens, because it's only Djokovic on his own. And he hasn't looked particularly great, as you said. But yeah, Rune is definitely one. I think, like you, he should definitely make at least a semi-final. But it depends on who gets in the draw as well, for sure. Tsitsipas, what do you think of his clay court? It's been weird, his clay court season.
Yeah.
I mean, he lost to Medvedev, which I think he'll be really annoyed about, as I'm sure you know. Given as well that he was it last year, he started turning around the hard court head-to-head because he beat him in the last 2 hard court matches, which we were like, okay, 7 volley, looking really good. And Medvedev has now suddenly upped his game and beaten him on clay. Thoughts?
Yeah, I was the same. I was thinking, like, I picked him to beat Medvedev the other night because, he turned around the hard court record. It was always sort of, I know they've only played a few times on clay, but like the last time they played on clay, it was pretty straightforward at the French a few years ago. And then, he started beat him in Cincy, I think it beat him at the ATP finals as well. And then it was like, oh, okay, so he's got the hard court now as well as the clay. And then, but then like, it was weird the other day because I don't know if you watched it. Did you watch it live?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
I reckon the family was the like, he lost to Medvedev and Medvedev played smart, but Tsitsipas's mind was not there for like at least half the match because of what happened with his family. So that doesn't happen. Does he maybe win the second set and force a third? Probably. But yeah, it's been weird. I mean, like, he lost to Fritz in Monte Carlo as the 2-time champion. And Fritz played great in that match, but just kind of didn't do much. Lost to Medvedev in Rome on clay, which he doesn't lose to Medvedev on clay. I kind of remember what happened in Madrid. He must have lost. He lost to Struff.
Yeah.
In 3. Yeah. So that was, Struff had a great run, but also, that's a bit strange for him, for Tsitsipas to lose to Struff on a clay court. And then I think that's all he's played. So, Barcelona, he made the final and he lost to Alcaraz, which, of course, that's going to happen with Alcaraz in Barcelona. But yeah, it's been strange. He hasn't got a title this year either. He's made a lot of finals, made the Australian Open final, and hasn't got a title. He didn't really play good at the Sunshine Double. He was injured, I think.
Yeah, shoulder injury. He had shoulder surgery, didn't he? Yeah.
So it's just been weird. And he's going to be top 5 because top 5 favorite because he has made finals and that kind of thing. But yeah, he's out of the guys, like out of like the Runes and Medvedevs, he's probably got the least amount of form coming in as the top 5 contender. Hasn't got a title up there with Djokovic, I guess. Him and Djokovic are the 2 guys that are have the least amount of form coming in. But again, if he doesn't have to play Alcaraz, maybe he might make another final until unless he plays Alcaraz in that final. But yeah, he lost the Rune last year at the French, kind of randomly, I guess. But yeah, I guess it'll just be. Most of these guys are probably going to have to play themselves in, like a traditional slam, like everyone, all the grades do. They play those first few rounds. They hopefully get through in straight sets. They don't have to play anyone tough, and then by the time they get to the serious stuff, when they play the seeds, they can kind of, then they lift their level. Something I did notice that when he played Medvedev, he didn't serve volley as much, which I think worked so well last year, and he took that game. And I know serve volley on clay is not really. Isn't seeming as a real good strategy, but I still think he should do it more, and he should have done it more because Medvedev was standing so far back. But yeah, his serve has gotten bigger over the year, but is that going to help him? I don't know. He is probably as strange as Djokovic to kind of think, well, Djokovic is more reliable because he's won it before and he's a slam champion. Tsitsipas, I'm not sure. I mean, yeah.
Questions.
Yep.
I think with Tsitsipas, yeah. No, for sure. I agree with everything you said. And Dave saying Mama Tsitsipas was not happy whatsoever. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean it's an interesting one. I think also it was announced that Mark Philippoussis isn't working with him anymore, so
Okay.
it is purely now his dad, and also who else? It will be someone from Patrick Mouratoglou's academy. I don't think he's working directly with him, is he, anymore?
No.
But there's a couple of people in there, fitness trainers or whatever else. So yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about that as well. I feel like having Mark Philippoussis just meant that his dad wasn't always the direct voice all the time, although he was always the one talking, to be fair. We'll see. I feel like, as you said, he needs a couple of matches. Hopefully, he gets a good draw, you'd imagine. If he does, then straight set victories, gains confidence, and then he's thinking, well, this is my surface. And yeah, I actually think your point on serve and volley against Medvedev as well is actually a really good one, in the sense that I know it's clay and it's a slow surface, but the whole point and what we see Holger Rune actually and Alcaraz do it quite a bit, which is hit the kick serve to serve and volley. Even on second serve, they do it at times. Alcaraz did it a bit too much last year in Roland Garros against Zverev, which is why he lost, but did on second serves. But for first serve, I don't see why that's an issue. And Tsitsipas has good enough hands at the net. He's got a good enough kick serve. I'm not sure why he can't do that. You don't do it every single time, but as a variation, it should be there, I think. And it's something that, as you said, it definitely works. And if Medvedev's going to stand that far back, then you have to make him think a little bit. It can't just be saying, I'm going to stay from the back of the court, when Medvedev will just grind you down into dust, which is not great. And then he got caught in the backhand to backhand, which is like the worst place you want to be as well. So, for sure. An interesting one for me is Rublev. How do you think he's looked? Because he won Monte Carlo. He's Mr. Consistent. Do you think he's now just... I feel like he's almost like a given to make like a round of 16 or quarterfinal or maybe a semi-final, but never quite pushes on. He said after winning Monte Carlo that the real tennis is played on clay. We have to really think, which, you would think in the past, I thought maybe his game was more suited to the quicker surfaces. He's got massive weapons, but I feel like he hits the ball so cleanly and with so much topspin that actually you could argue that his game is actually better on clay. Do you think he has a decent chance at Roland Garros? And have you seen him maybe improve or mature during this season? And do you think he could go one step further and even, say, make a semi or a final at Roland Garros? Or is he a contender, I guess, is really my question.
Yeah, I mean, like he won Monte Carlo, then backed it up, got to the final of Bosnia the next week. Lost to Lajovic, but Lajovic was having a week. So, but yeah, I mean, I can't remember who he played in Madrid and Rome. So I know he lost earlier, but he might have maybe peaked at the start of the season. I mean, hopefully he can make a resurgence. Luckily, it's there's still another tournament to go. But yeah, he always, I mean, even at every tournament, even though now he's got a 1,000 event, it's kind of like, oh, good, congrats. We expected this and we hoped this for him, but it doesn't really change my thought of like you've got the guys that are like, I mean, look, Rune beats Djokovic. You beat Djokovic, people are going to talk about you more serious. Alcaraz has got a slam. A Tsitsipas has made the final. Medvedev's got a slam. So those guys I see ahead of Rublev, just because Rublev, he hasn't got to those finals that those guys, even though he's got the same trophy now as them. And I know Rune hasn't really made it to the finals of massive slams yet, but he has got those big wins in big matches. So yeah, he's a weird one. He's a strange one. Like no one wants to play him, but I don't think the top guys will fear him as much. Like maybe if he gets, I mean, maybe if he gets a Rude or Medvedev in the quarters, maybe like Medvedev by the quarters would be interesting against Rublev, because they're the Rome champ versus the Monte Carlo champ. You think Rublev would like his chances on the clay, even though Medvedev this year is a clay court beast. So yeah, it would be interesting. But if you get someone like an Alcaraz or Djokovic, I wouldn't think he would be that thrilled. But he's strange. He's in I think he's just, but you got the favorites, and he's probably just in the second tier. Even though he has Monte Carlo.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think for sure. It's interesting because I feel like his game's almost tailor-made for someone like Djokovic, or has been in the past.
Yeah.
But he has managed to... I mean, we saw him drop-shotting. We're talking about Medvedev drop-shotting. We saw Rublev drop-shotting in this clay court swing, which is crazy. And you just think with the amount of power that he has in his game, to add a bit of touch, it just makes a massive difference, because it makes them second guess. If you hammer them from the back of the court and then they're retreating, then you have that drop shot, it just adds a different dimension, and that's great. And like Medvedev, who's been trying to improve, I feel like Rublev's been trying to, and it's the only way they're going to get better. And if he wants to win a slam, for example, it's the only way he's going to do it. He can't be one-dimensional. I won't quote Tsitsipas because I didn't agree with him about the few tools, but I think, look, he can add more to his game, and he's doing it, so that's great to see. I think on the men's side, we can finish up on Alcaraz, so I think everyone's excited to see play. And apart from Djokovic, I feel like if we're talking about tiers, you've got tier 1, which is like Djokovic, and then Alcaraz just below. What do you think of his chances, and how's he looked? Is he the one to beat?
Yeah, I think losing in Rome was probably a good thing. I watched that upset. It was crazy, but it just resets him. And probably last year, coming in from Barcelona, winning Barcelona, winning Madrid, coming in on a streak, most people were saying it's him, Djokovic, Nadal, and then he loses to Zverev, which I think was kind of unexpected, because he destroyed Zverev. So it was I think now he's coming in with okay, well, I'm not unbeatable. I've just lost to somebody who I should never have lost to on paper. Whereas the other guys have gone on to win, though, Djokovic aside, Rune and his biggest threats, even Medvedev, have gone on and done well while he lost that same tournament. So, he kind of missed that. But I mean, I think he is the favorite ahead of Djokovic in the book, in the betting. But I would still take Djokovic over him just because of French Open experience. So he's definitely second favorite, if not the top number 1. But yeah, it's I don't know. I just got this weird, after what I saw in Rome, even though I think he's reset. If he does get, I mean, he nearly lost in the, I think, second round last year to Ramos Vinolas, who nobody would have expected a left-handed veteran of clay to push this exciting young kid who, and then we saw, I think they played maybe a couple of weeks ago, and it was one-sided. So you're like, how did that happen? And then he ended up losing to Zverev. So if he does get somebody awkward, someone who is a clay court veteran or someone early, it might push him, because it showed last year. But yeah, I don't know, unless everyone studied the game of Marijan, the Hungarian, and are just going to copy that big hitting drop shot style that somehow beat him. But yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. I think he should make the second week, but it'll come down to who he has to play in the first couple of days. Third round against a low seed might be tough. I think like a Cerundolo, I think he's sort of in the mid-20s seeded, so that could be a third round maybe. If they draw each other, that could be awkward. Cerundolo beating Sinner last week, and knows how to play on clay. That could be awkward. Or someone like that. I think a Musetti could be awkward if he plays him early. So there are players that could get Alcaraz in the first week, but I think he should make the second week. But then what happens when he plays Rune? What happens if he plays, one of these guys who played well in Rome? What if he plays Medvedev? I guess he can't play Medvedev in the final, but I mean, he could definitely play Rune in a quarterfinal, and that would be awkward. Sinner, Sinner's had his number. or had his number the last time they played. How does that look on clay? They played last year on clay and it went Sinner's way. So, like, there are players that maybe could, and that's what makes this French Open so good. It's like, there is no, like, everybody has someone to worry about. It's not like, oh, this guy, like, Nadal in the past, maybe Djokovic would be a tough match, but everyone else, it should be easy. Or when, Rafa's not there, Djokovic, past years, Djokovic should be able to beat everybody. Now it's like, well, Alcaraz has to worry about Sinner and maybe Rune, and Djokovic has to worry about Rune now, and Musetti can do things, and Tsitsipas now has to worry about Medvedev and Alcaraz, who he didn't, Medvedev wasn't a problem before, and then Medvedev's got to worry about Alcaraz as well because he's lost to him recently. So I think everyone's got someone they don't want to play, which makes it even crazier tomorrow when we get the draw tomorrow. So yeah, whereas on the women's side it'll be a little different, I think.
Yeah,
there's a few players there that that I don't think fear as many as like everyone seems to have a someone they don't want to play in the French Open on the men's side.
Yeah, agreed. I think on the men's side, there's so many interesting head-to-heads on there. I mean, like Rune, I think has a positive head-to-head against Alcaraz, and then you've got even someone like Felix has a positive head-to-head against Alcaraz as well, which is like weird. Yeah. Musetti beat him on clay last year when they played in the final of Umag, and then was it Umag? I think it was, and then Sinner obviously beat him as well. They've played each other twice this year. It's 1-1 on the hard courts, but then last he beat him on grass and clay, and then obviously lost him in the US Open. So there's like all these players who have beaten Alcaraz, and then Holger Rune, as I said, has beaten Alcaraz, and you just think, well, he's played really well on the clay court swing. They play on clay. How does that look?
But then Rublev and Medvedev have gotten Rune, so, and you go,
yeah.
Rublev, exactly. Is he going to be the guy that knocks Rune out? Like,
and then if Djokovic gets Rune again, what happens? Does Rune beat him again, or is it best of 5? So does it look completely different? Because it is best of 5. Like we saw Zverev lost to Alcaraz in Madrid, got destroyed, and then in Roland Garros beat him in a 5-setter. So it's like, I don't know. Could Tsitsipas beat Alcaraz in a best of 5? We just don't know, right? So it's really interesting, and I think that's what makes this tournament so exciting on the men's side is that for once, actually, I don't feel like anyone really has the answers. And as you said, like there's even people like Cerundolo who's looked pretty good and is dangerous, and Musetti and all these different players who you just think on clay, it's not like the hard courts where you've got these really like core players who just feel like, these are the guys to win. You're like, there's a lot of players on clay that can cause issues and upset people. Before we get on to the women's, is there anyone from the men's that you think deserves a mention or like a dark horse to talk about?
Not really. I mean, the top guys. I mean, if Medvedev hadn't won Rome, you'd probably say he'd be the dark horse because he's sort of sneaking through. But no, you can't call him a dark horse because he's gone on and won one. I mean, let me have a look at the seeds. So, I mean, Sinner, but I mean, yeah, maybe is he a dark horse? I don't know. I don't think many play. I mean, Musetti's 17. Zverev is 22 in the seeds. Are they going to win it all? Probably not. It's weird because it does feel like it's open, but it also feels like it's only going to be between the top 8 guys. It's just a matter of which combination, who gets the better, like who gets the one that they want to play. Like does Djokovic get to play? Does he get to play Medvedev instead of Alcaraz, or does he get to avoid Rune and maybe play Rublev in the quarters? And that's sort of because I'm looking at like Fritz. He was great in Monte Carlo, but hasn't really done much, the last 2 weeks. Khachanov, I mean, maybe he's a dark horse. He's made like the semis of the last 2 slams.
Yeah, he has.
He's a slam master at the moment. So maybe, I mean, he's probably a dark horse. Won Paris years ago. Finally got a top 10 win, I think, this year when he beat Steph in Miami or Indian Wells. But other than that, I mean, Tiafoe, Norrie, Paul, Chorich, not really. Diminor, Batista Agut, Struff. I mean, is he going to win the French Open? Probably not. Korda's not in, like Korda, Shapovalov, I mean, Vakina. So I would say, I mean, Khachanov probably the only guy outside the top 10 that I can see, like, oh, well, he's, I think he made a quarterfinal or 4th round here before.
Yeah.
semi-finals of the last two majors is nothing. So yeah, maybe I'll go with him as a dark horse.
Yeah.
I guess
No,
there's
that's
not
fair.
really anyone else really.
That's true. Yeah, Brand says Casper Ruud will always be a dark horse. Yeah, he didn't really mention him, and obviously he made the semi-finals of Rome and made the final Roland Garros last year. He goes into like this tournament kind of in an interesting state, but yeah, we'll see how he gets on as well. But no, Jack Draper, dark horse. Come on, Cam.
Oh well, he's not in the seat, so he's been injured though. I mean, he's playing this week.
Yeah, he is.
He's been playing this week, so maybe if he can, if he gets to the
beat
final,
Kekmanovic yesterday. Yeah,
that's not a bad. That's a good win. So yeah, maybe Draper.
French Open around the corner.
What about Karatsev? Karatsev might be able to get through the qualies again, and then go. Well, I think he's playing right now. He might have lost. So don't hold me to that. Don't be, exactly, no comments, please. In the
exactly. Cool. Let's talk about the women's then. There's not as much to talk about, I feel, because it's a lot more. Well, I think it's grouped between three players really as favourites: Swiatek, Sabalenka, Rybakina. I mean, Swiatek has looked pretty good. One Madrid, one Stuttgart. Obviously, retired quarterfinal against Rybakina, 1-all, 2-all. What do you think? How she looks so far, Cam? In your estimations going into it, she's still the favourite. I mean, the other two are hot on her heels, but she should be the favourite, right? Given she's a reigning champion as well.
Yeah, she's the favourite. Two-time champ. I mean, yeah, she's got to be the favourite. And then the fact, Sabalenka hasn't done well at the French. Don't think she's made it past the third round. Rybakina played well back in 21. I think she made the quarters. So she's got some form, and obviously winning Rome helps. But yeah, it's got to be Swiatek. But the leg, that's the only thing. I think I saw like footage of her training without any strapping on her leg, so that's good. And maybe it was precautionary to pull out of that match. She was winning that match. That's the thing. She was winning that match pretty comfortably against Rybakina. It was sort of 6-2, 4-2. And then she just played that one bad game, went to a tiebreak. Rybakina is not losing tiebreaks this year, and then she got hurt as well. So, I mean, yeah, the Sabalenka and Madrid match, fast court, Sabalenka. So you can kind of, I guess, justify the two losses and not think, her two biggest threats are now beating her on clay. You're like, yeah, well, Madrid's not the French Open, and Rybakina wasn't winning that match for the most part. So, yeah, she's still got to be the favorite.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the conditions, the court, and also you have to remember that it's a longer tournament, and Rybakina and Sabalenka could lose earlier on. And we saw Ons Jabeur last year was like one of the favourites after Swiatek had a great clay court swing and then lost in the first round. So a lot of people, I've actually seen a lot of people think that could happen to someone like Rybakina. But we'll see.
I could see Sabalenka losing first 2 days.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the positive thing, like you were saying for Alcaraz on the men's side, that he lost early in Rome, and then it's given him time to like reset, have a reality check, and maybe freshen up because he's played a lot of tennis. Maybe the same could be said for Sabalenka, in that she's played a lot of tennis. She's lost obviously to Sofia Kenin. Not ideal in the sense that Rome is placed similar to, of course, Roland Garros, but it does mean that she gets time. Like I've seen her practicing at Roland Garros on the court, so that gives her time to get there, take her time, practice, and actually get some downtime to reset for the slam. And also she has the added motivation that if she wins, I think she becomes world number one as well, and winning 2 slams in a row, which is a massive achievement given, and she would then be the woman even to beat, which would be really impressive. But
well, the thing with Sabalenka, I'm a little worried because I was doing this today. I was seeing what all the combinations could be for the number one. I think Swiatek has to make the quarterfinals or better. If Swiatek doesn't make it to the quarterfinals, then Sabalenka's number one no matter what happens.
Okay,
which could be a bad thing. And I don't think Swiatek's not. I mean, she's got to be at least making the quarterfinals. Yeah. But it could be that kind of like, she doesn't really have to she doesn't have to win the whole thing unless Swiatek makes the final. So she could still be number one without having to win. if things go wrong for Swiatek. So that added motivation could work, but also it could hurt her because she knows, not winning is okay because I can still be number one for Wimbledon if she can get there. So that will be interesting.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think. What do you think of Sabalenka's chances, though? You said you could easily see her going out early, but if she gets into a little bit of a run, like how does her game translate onto this surface? Because yes, it's really slow, but she still has the weapons from the back of the court. I guess similar to like Rublev, except she's got a much better serve, I think, than Rublev. It's fair to say, if you in relative terms to the WTA tour, and she seems like she's able to stick with like Swiatek or Rybakina from the back of the court on a slower surface. I don't know how much of an advantage she then has against say Swiatek, but she's moving quite well on the surface as well. Defensively, has improved a little bit. Trying to add a drop shot as well and come to the net. I mean, how does she look? Like, could you see her winning it, or is it a case of, you know what, Swiatek is a clear favorite, and then for Sabalenka to win it, everything needs to kind of maybe fall into place for a little bit?
Yeah, I think Swiatek clear favorite. I don't know if Sabalenka's the second favorite. We were saying Madrid. It was interesting because when both Alcaraz and Sabalenka won Madrid, I just didn't think they were going to do well in Rome. I don't know why. I didn't expect them to both lose, with their biggest upset of the year or their worst loss of the year. But I thought, I don't think they're going to be able to go back to back. And obviously being the bigger tournament this year with the extra rounds included. So I wasn't super shocked that she lost. I was shocked that she maybe lost to Kenin. But I mean, out of the top five, I'm probably most worried about what she will do. I think Pegula's a quarterfinalist always. And then Rybakina has won Rome. And yeah, she got 3 retirement victories along the way. But still, she's got that confidence and she's won, 2 big trophies now. And then you've got like sort of, I think Garcia might be fit. So maybe I don't have much confidence in her, but being in France, maybe that'll inspire her. But there's a few players that I would maybe put ahead of her, and I wouldn't be surprised if she did get a tricky second or third round, because that seems to be what happens when she plays at the French. She hasn't made it past the third round. She loses. I'm just having a look now. She lost to Jabeur in 2020, so not a terrible loss. We know once Jabeur, is can play on clay. She lost to Georgie last year, 6-love in the third, so that's not great. And then I can't find where she lost the other one. Oh, she lost to Pavlyuchenkova 6-love in the third back in 21. So it's that could happen again. I mean, she could lose in the third. She has. I mean, with Madrid, it was funny because when she made the Stuttgart final and then went to play Madrid, it felt like 2021 again when she lost to Barty, and then she's like, well, I can. And then obviously Swiatek say, I'm playing Madrid this year, and I just had a feeling that it was going to get a repeat, and we got that with Sabalenka turning the tables on the same player in that Madrid tournament. But I just don't think she doesn't have the happy memories at the French. She hasn't made any memories there yet because she loses in the first week. So that'll be interesting. I mean, there's probably going to be a bunch of lower ranked players in the third round that she doesn't want to play. But if she gets someone that like a Mertens, she'll probably get through someone like that. But there could be, Sharif beating her, or pushing her to 3. Sorry, at Madrid was kind of, I guess, a little bit out of nowhere. But then, it's. I think her draw is going to be the most important. Like if she avoids playing some big guns early, then, or at least some tricky clay quarters early, then she'll probably be able to work her way into the fourth round and then, kind of go, I can play on this surface. I can play here. But it'll really come down to those. She's kind of like the draw for Swiatek. I don't think it matters as much. But for Sabalenka, I think it matters maybe the most out of the top 4.
Yeah, and I agree. I think she needs confidence and like a run of form going into it for sure. Interesting to see who she does get drawn, because if she gets some of the clay court specialists early doors, then it could be a little bit difficult. David saying Pavlyuchenkova goating, to be fair. Well, she did get double bageled by Swiatek recently, so I'm not sure if she's goating in that sense. But Yeah, she's to be fair, she was out for a while due to injury, so hopefully she's back to her best soon. Rybakina, I mean, she looks very dangerous. It's such a shame that they didn't get to finish that match, Rybakina and Swiatek. I was so disappointed, but hopefully we get it at some point, whether it's at Roland Garros or not. I don't know. We'll see. But even on grass would be interesting. I think Rybakina would be the favorite, but something to talk about on a different day. I mean, she's shown, I guess, like Medvedev, that yes, fast courts tend to be their forte, but they can actually adapt, and play well on these very, very slow courts as well. And they have that type of flexibility in their game, and they're able to adapt, and they have those tools. So I think that's what really impressed me. And I think one of the biggest issues I had with her in the past is her movement on the clay, but she seems to be okay movement wise. And her serve is still very effective on the surface. What's been your assessment of how she's looked in the clay court? Because to be fair, before Rome, it wasn't looking great, but then she had this fantastic run in Rome, and it seems like she could be peaking at the right time.
Yeah, I can't remember who she lost to in. Oh, she didn't. Did she retire in Stuttgart? She then lost to Kalinskaya in Madrid, and then she won Rome. But I mean, I don't want to be the party pooper, but she did get 3 retirements in Rome. So half her matches finished without her having to win them. So, the Kalinskaya match, I wanted to see that rematch because it was interesting to see how that went in Madrid and how she would respond from that upset and try and get revenge over Kalinskaya. We didn't get to see that. The fight, I think, even if Kalinina hadn't gotten hurt, I think she would have probably won anyway, Rybakina. And then that Swiatek match that we didn't get to see the end of, but Swiatek was winning for the most part. So, I mean, she looked great against Vondrousova. So she got well and truly got that win. She looked great against, was it Ostapenko in the semis? But yeah, so it's a tough one because with Medvedev, in comparison, you go, well, he beat Rune fair and square. He beat, Tsitsipas. He beats Zverev. He looked great. And he even beat Morales, who has been pretty good on clay this year and also, was good on clay last year at the French. So Medvedev had a really good run, but it's like, yeah, she did win those matches, but she also didn't win match points. So yeah, I'm trying not to, I'm not going to say that she's going to make the final because of Rome, because unless she gets another similar situation, it's tricky. I think if the draws work out, I think she could do better than Sabalenka, but I don't know if I don't know if Swiatek will play either of them at the French, because I mean, like I said, she didn't play. Half her matches she didn't play. She only played 3 matches. She only won 3 matches technically. So yeah, it's a tough one. It's a tough one because, I mean, yeah, she did win Rome, but she wasn't playing great before that. She was hurt before that. She was having back troubles for a bit, and then I think it was sort of between Indian Wells, Miami, she was sore, but she played through it. So is there an injury? Could there be an injury at some point? I don't know. So yeah, it's a tough one. She made the quarterfinals back in 21. She beat Serena on clay. Is that a good win? Maybe it is. It was a good win in 21. I don't know. I mean, beating Serena anywhere is good, but yeah, I don't know. It's tricky. I'm trying to find out what she lose. I think it's his 3rd round last year. Yeah, she lost the keys in the 3rd round last year in a tiebreak in the 3rd. But is that something that if she plays someone similar in the 3rd round, will it be the same at the French? I mean, yeah, it's I don't know. She's a tricky one because I don't think her form it's not as like, oh, she won Rome, but if you dig deeper, it's kind of like, did she win all those matches? Like, yeah, I don't know. I hopefully it gives her the confidence, though. That's the thing. She's going to gain confidence for winning Rome. Doesn't matter how she won it, but like, yeah, I'm not going to get too misguided by the trophy with her, because I don't know if the trophy should turn into like, oh well, she's now a French Open favorite, when the trophy wasn't. She didn't win 6 matches to win the trophy.
Yeah. I
If
get
she
too
plays
carried away.
Swiatek, I think Swiatek gets her if she plays.
No, that's fair. No, yeah, I get that, not getting too carried away, given how she won it, I guess, and the retirements as well. But yeah, definitely will take some confidence, won't she? So that'll be good. And let's see what type of form she has coming into it and who she gets and how she gets on. Because it would be good to see at least one or two players challenging Swiatek in this Roland Garros. But we'll see. Apart from those three, is anyone else on the women's side that you can see creating issues or problems for other players and potentially being a little bit of a surprise package?
I mean, Jabeur, I think she didn't get a great like last year. She was probably, I mean, she was the second best player going into the French behind Swiatek. She had won Madrid. She made the final of Rome. Maybe a little tired in that final. Didn't get to really play Swiatek. Then she didn't get to play Swiatek in Stuttgart because of the leg. She came back. She played. Well, she skipped Madrid. She lost in the second round of Badosa, who's very tricky to play second round.
Yeah.
So I mean, if Jabeur's 100% fit, I think she'll be. I mean, I expect I would love to see Jabeur take on Sabalenka or Rybakina in the quarters. That would be so much fun because I don't think it will be as simple as, well, Sabalenka and Rybakina have won trophies and Jabeur hasn't, because Jabeur a little unlucky with, especially not being able to defend Madrid. I think that really,
it's with the injuries, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, she was top four until those points kind of dropped off, and then she lost early in Rome, which again she lost all those points. So number 7, I think definitely got to watch for her. Bencic, unfortunately, hasn't played. I would have said Bencic has been great until she got injured. So I would have said Bencic. I don't even know if she'll. I haven't seen her on the courts or anything. She's been out for a couple of weeks, or a couple of months. So, and Krejcikova, I mean, I don't know what to think about her anymore, because she beat everybody in Dubai, and then she was like, I'm one of the big four.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah,
and then completely and then she lost to Sabalenka like 3 times in a row. So that's fair enough. But then now she's been losing to people that she shouldn't lose to. So I don't know what to think of her, even though she's a former champion, and I don't know if she's playing doubles, because I know her doubles partner's been out injured. But I mean, maybe her, Ostapenko. I'm a massive fan of Zhang, so I'd love to see Zhang go on. And I mean, that's where last year she kind of announced herself, taking a set off Swiatek when nobody could even get near Swiatek, and then being at the French on a big stage. So I feel like she could be, if she gets a decent draw, could avoid playing the top dogs. I mean, even watching Zhang take on Sabalenka in the first week would be fun.
Yeah.
Other than that, Goff is a defending champ. I think too much pressure. Pegula, I mean, she's probably quarterfinals minimum, or 4th round minimum. Kazatkina was semi-final last year. I don't know if she'll be able to back it up. Kudermetova's been in good form. So she's another one that maybe, if the draw is decent, she could go, again, I'd love to see her play against Rybakina. I think that'd be a great match, because, Kudermetova's, she lost to Kalinino and Swiatek the last 2 tournaments. So put her up against Rybakina, and I think that'll be a real interesting matchup. Haddad Maia's been pretty good too. I mean, she was great in the doubles in Madrid. So yeah, other than that, I'm looking sort of down the list.
Yeah, no, I feel like with the women's as well, it's quite easy to you get a little bit of a look into the future because it's best of 3 at the slams as well. Whereas with the men's, it's like we talk about the best of 5 factor, but for the women's, you don't have that. So if they play each other in Rome, for example, you're like, okay, you get an idea of what it might look like, which is interesting. But no, I agree with your assessment on a lot of those people. So Coco Gauff, of course, finalist last year, but she's just not looked very good this year. Forehand, like, something needs to be done about that. I think it's just all over the place, to be honest. But she's still so young, so she's got a lot of time. She's such a talent, but it just doesn't seem like it's quite clicking currently. But yeah, we'll see how the rest get on. I'm sure there will be some upsets. Zheng Qinwen, I love her game. I think she's really good. She's a really exciting talent. I have big question marks on her serve, though. I feel like her serve needs big improvement if she wants to be able to go on and win a slam. But I think she could definitely cause upsets because she's got the ability and athletic ability as well. So I think she could definitely, as you said, like take a set or off one of the big players, or even like beat them, upset them. How far she can go, we'll see. But I feel like she just needs to take those few next steps in her development, and then she's kind of there for me, in my opinion. But yeah, some exciting players to hopefully, and matchups as well, because the great thing about the depth on both tours, but I think the WTA tour at the moment as well, especially, is that you got people like Paolo Badosa and these other players who are not seeded particularly highly. So then we could see some really good first week matches, which would be really exciting to see. So I'm looking forward to those. And on the men's side, you've got people like Wawrinka, and and like Murray's not obviously, Murray's pulled out of the French Open, but other players as well who are not quite as highly ranked.
I'd love to see Wawrinka Medvedev in like a second round. That'd be
great.
If Medvedev beats Stan at the French, that would, because the French are going to go for Stan.
Yeah,
they always do. So that'll be. I would love to see something like that in the first couple of rounds, or Rune Stan. I mean, we love that. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure. Agreed. Is there anything else on the women's side before we get to the Q&A?
No, I think that. I mean, like you said, I think it's sort of Swiatek to lose, and then maybe Sabalenka. I mean, Sabalenka versus Rybakina or winner place Swiatek. I'd take that all day. I mean, other than that, I don't think there's too many huge. Sort of the big three, isn't it?
On the women's side, exactly. So I think we're in agreement on the men's side. I think the favorite currently is Djokovic. Obviously, this is us saying it without the draw, and on the women's side is Swiatek. But we'll see when the draw comes out. Well, that could definitely change given who, what the projected quarterfinals and semifinals, etc., could be. So, okay. Let's get into the questions then, guys. Get your questions in on YouTube on the live chat. Or if you're watching on Facebook or Twitch, you can do so as well. I'll be able to see them. We'll get through as many as possible. But apologies if we don't get to your question. Repeat it if I missed it from right at the start, but I'll start from the first few. Mano says, I have a question for you guys. Who do you think can be a dark horse at Roland Garros this year? Okay, should we pick one each, women's and men's? So I can go first. Women's dark horse. I guess what's the definition of dark horse? I'm going to go for someone who's not particularly highly ranked. So I want to go Bianca Andreescu, which is really left field. And then men's side, I'm going to go for who could make some big wave. Jack Draper, go on. I'll be really biased. How about you, Cam?
Yeah, I'll go Hashanov on the men's side. I like that. I mean, I talked myself into that. On the women's side, is Pegula a dark horse? She's number 3.
No.
Doesn't count.
No, she's not.
Kudermetova. Let's go with Kudermetova. She's been decent. If she gets a good draw and avoids all the big guns, which happens sometimes with the French. I mean, Barty got her way through the draw playing one top 20 seed. So, it could open up if Swiatek loses, and then it could get wild. So I'll go Kudermetova. She's been decent.
Okay, now that's fair. Manos says, and do you think we will hear more about Marazan? Well, apparently he's lost in the qualifier just now, so we won't. Not for Roland Garros anyway, unfortunately. So I can answer that question very quickly, unfortunately, after big splash. So let's go through a lot of comments here. Do you think Medi has momentum given that he just recently won, or is it just a one-time big time win? I don't know what to ask, seriously. I think we answer this, but I mean, he has momentum, but can he win Roland Garros? And we were saying that he's top 5, but what do you think, Cam, in terms of that question?
Yeah, I mean, if he doesn't, I think it's more like if he doesn't play, if he avoids Djokovic, if he avoids Alcaraz, and maybe if he avoids Tsitsipas in 5, then maybe he can. That's. I think if you've got to say, well, he can't play this guy, otherwise it's not going to work, then you kind of it's hard to say.
Yeah, no, agreed. Agreed for sure. Margot says, Fazan and Cam, do you think US players will ever have a run on clay? They seem to be really into the analytics to change their clay game. Well, Taylor Fritz, when he won, not when he won, but when he had a deep run at Monte Carlo, looked like, oh, this is it. And then he wrote on the camera, about the US players playing in clay after Tsitsipas' comments, and then he's done absolute jack since. So classic. But TFO is also pretty good on clay as well. I think they even Corda, if he's fully fit, they have the players to do it. I just don't think maybe there's the mentality is maybe not quite there that they can go on and win it. And I feel like the Europeans, of course, they've grown up playing on clay, so I think that is an advantage as well. Cam, what's your view on it?
I mean, well, the ladies do great. So
yeah, it's true.
Like that's the thing. If you're talking about US tennis as a whole, then Goff made the final. Pegula went deep. They've been great on the women's side, but on the men's side,
Serena,
Serena, Sloane Stevens made the final a few years ago. So but the Americans started so good. Tiafoe won a tournament in Houston. Fritz making it semis, beating Tsitsipas. You're like, okay, there's something here. I'm looking down the list of Americans. Corda's not he's coming back, so I wouldn't get too harsh on him. Shelton, I think, still learning. Cressy hits too many double faults. JJ Wolf, I think, I don't know if he's playing this week, but he seems to be embracing it. He looks a lot better. He sort of slides around very well. He's very athletic. He's very physical.
Playing today. Casper Ruud, we're covering it on the channel.
That'll be interesting. Yeah. So maybe if Wolf, even if he doesn't beat Ruud, if he pushes Ruud to 3, you maybe keep an eye on Wolf. Other than that, I don't think there's too many outside of that. JJ Wolf, he sort of he looks like he could do something. Again, if he doesn't play one of those big dogs in the first rounds, but I don't know. Tommy Paul, he had a great hard court start, but hasn't really translated that over. So, I'm not sure. The American men are tough. They've never. You can name on one hand how many champions they've got. So, the French. So, and some of the greatest Americans of all time have never won the French. So, it's never fun. But if you like women's tennis, you can watch. You can go watch the WTA and have more success as an American fan.
That's true. Agreed. Yeah, for sure. David says, my question for you both is, judging by their clay court seasons, who is a top 20 player on upset alert in the early few rounds? Who has been disappointing in your opinion? Go on, Cam, you can go first. One man, one women.
So what is it? Judging by who 20? Okay. Look who's in the current top 20. Felix. FAA.
Oh, took my answer.
That was the easy one. Tommy Paul, like I said, he hasn't been great lately. Losing to Murray in a challenger is not nothing, but also it's a challenger.
Yeah.
And Tiafoe as well. Hurkacz has kind of been terrible too. So he's just disappeared. I don't know where he's gone, and he's not doing much. And on the women's side, probably Goff. I'll go Goff. She's been disappointed. Did I take both your answers?
No.
Were they the easy ones?
So on the men's side, I don't know who's on upset alert. I think Taylor Fritz. I think he is. I just think when it comes to slams, like the US Open last year, and then with the clay, he hasn't been great. I know he's playing this week.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much it's going to make a massive difference. It's a ATP 250. I'm sure he'll get some matches under his belt. He's playing the quarterfinals, I think, today. But I'm just not convinced. On the women's side, if Kvitova's playing, then she could be one. But actually, I'm going to go Caroline Garcia. I know she's playing at home, but she's been in shocking form. She's been really, really bad. And it's actually sad to see, because she said, I think after one of her losses, she was really, really down about it. I was like, I just don't know why I'm not playing well, and obviously struggling a little bit mentally as well. So hopefully she's back to her best soon. But I just don't think the clay suits her game whatsoever, even though she's French and she must have grown up playing on clay courts, I would imagine, in some capacity. Her game just seems so much more suited to grass and hard court because of her really aggressive brand of tennis and stepping in on the return and trying to volley and trying to come forward all the time, transition. I just feel like clay, it just doesn't quite suit that type of game, in my opinion. So yeah, those are my two. I've gone two different ones, but yeah, Felix is almost like nailed on to get upset unless he gets a really easy draw and he gets a few straight set victories, and you can say, okay, he's starting to build up momentum, but he'll have to do it at Roland Garros because he's not being in great form. Otherwise, Arcane is Fazan Aussie also. No, I'm British. I can answer that. Okay. Oh, DJ says, did Steph get rid of Philippoussis or did Philippoussis quit? I think I'm not sure. Do you have any idea? It looked like it's just mutual, but
yeah, I mean, it makes sense if it was mutual because Philippoussis lives in Melbourne. Melbourne's where we live ages away, so traveling. I think he's got a young family too, so being away that much.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It probably would have been mutual. I don't think Steph would have fired him because he was doing wonders. He was doing so much for him, and then Mark, I could see if Philippoussis quitting. But did they work together in Australia? I can't remember.
I think
he was there in Indian Wells. I think maybe
he was. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
So yeah, maybe just he might be there at Wimbledon. He might come back. I thought he was always a consultant. I never thought he was full like a coach, just like an advisor. So I'm not sure.
And then we've also got Sean says, will players be feeling more or less pressure knowing Nadal isn't there? Less pressure, I think, in my opinion. What do you think?
A bit of both. I mean, less pressure because they don't have to play Nadal, but more pressure because anyone could win it. So, like the US Open 2020.
That's true.
It went there, and there was only Djokovic, and then he lost, and it was like, and then
it could be my chance.
Towards the end of that, they were all just like fumbling it. Who's going to win? Team Zverev, Medi, they're all just throwing it around. And then finally, team accidentally won. So then, it could be that bad. Hopefully not. Hopefully it's a great opportunity, but then you've also got to. Back then it was everyone's trying to win their first when the GOATs aren't around. But yeah, probably less pressure. They don't have to play Rafa, but more pressure because anybody could take it.
That's true. No, I agreed. Yeah, maybe it depends on who the player is, I guess. If you're talking about say I feel like there's a lot more pressure on someone like a Tsitsipas and there's say even like a Zverev if he wins a few matches, because those guys, everyone's been saying they're going to win a slam for so many years and they haven't won one yet. And then if Djokovic goes out early, like you're saying, then you're like, okay, it suddenly opens up and it's like we could potentially not get a better opportunity now to win it. Whereas I feel like for Alcaraz, he's already won one, of course, and there's not really pressure. But Rune and Sin and all those guys, yes, it's a great opportunity, but they're a bit younger, so they probably don't feel it as much. They're like, okay, it's a great opportunity, but if I don't win it, then it's a learning experience. Whereas they're not really expected, if that makes sense. Like people won't be disappointed that they haven't won it. I guess it depends.
Those guys, I think those guys that are sort of that generation of Zverev, like Rublev and Tsitsipas, the guys that haven't got one, that were like unlucky to start in their, when they go at their peak, and now they've got these young guys coming up behind. They're like, well, now we've got to get it before those guys catch us.
Exactly.
Whereas, like if Rune doesn't win, I'm sure he's going, well, I'll just win next year. Whereas like Tsitsipas, especially if he gets a good draw, he'll be like, okay, here's my time. I don't have to play Djokovic maybe to the final. Rublev, that kind of 25 to 30-year-old, I think is really going to be. That's where the pressure is.
No, I agree. Sean's saying I'd love Rublev to win the French. That'd be quite some story for sure. And Brand's saying a hard hitter will always be a hard hitter no matter the surface. That's what makes Saba and Rybakina so scary. Yeah, that's a good point as well. And where's the next question? That's scrolling through all the chat. People just love. That's good. All getting involved with the chat, talking to each other. Really, Marazon is out. Yep, he's out, unfortunately, which is not the best. If you wanted him to go far, or you play some money on him or something. This is my question for you both: is judging by their clay court seasons, who is? Oh no, we've gone through this one.
No, we read that one.
Yeah, we've done that one. Do players use less slice because it's a tough shot, or do they not think It says useful in the modern game, says Sean.
Hmm.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if that's true. Is that true?
I wouldn't say it's
On clay, yes, because I
yeah.
guess obviously it's not as conducive to slice. Like it's more topspin. Like when you slice on the clay, it sits up a bit more. So I feel like on quicker surfaces, like it went, like Sean. To be fair, when we transition to grass, you're going to see people slicing a lot, a lot. Like, and a good example is someone like Tsitsipas, who on the clay he'll hit a lot of drive backhands because he's got a lot more time. He has a lot more. Because he has a lot more time, it means he can wind up the backhand. He shanks it a lot less. He's more comfortable hitting his drive backhand. As soon as he goes onto the grass, he's trying to slice a lot because he's being rushed. The ball's bouncing a lot lower. He has to get down low and just slice because he knows, okay, I'm going to struggle with my backhand otherwise. And Federer was similar as well. Like he used to hit, and I guess with the one-handers, I feel like it's a lot more prominent because maybe they're going to,
only slices.
yeah, exactly, yeah,
It's the
exactly.
worst.
Yeah, Dimitrov only slices on grass. Yeah, exactly. So, what's your take on this actually, though, as well?
Yeah, well, I think it's first, like, I mean, Medvedev, his volleys and his slice are almost identical. Very awkward to watch, but like, but I think like a lot of the young guys who are coming up, like Alcaraz, he can hit a slice, he can hit a drop shot, but they choose not to because they are being aggressive. I guess Sinner, I haven't really seen him slice much. We said he's got a decent slice, being one-hander, that helps, but yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it's not probably good. It's not, maybe not because it's a tough shot, more because it's not really like the defensive style of the guys like the Djokovic's and stuff. They kind of stand back and hit topspin instead of defending with a slice closer in.
Yeah.
So that might have something to do with it as well. Like they don't use as many slice backhands defensively either.
Yeah.
Because they can just stand back and just hit topspin like Medvedev was doing most of Rome. But yeah, I mean, it's a shot. If like even Tsitsipas' slice is awkward,
average, yeah. But then to be fair, Barty and Fed and even Berrettini, they use it as like an attacking slice, don't they? So I think it really does vary because like Barty was like the queen of like, I mean, their slice, she would hit winners off the slice. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
like,
Jabert's got a great slice.
Yeah.
Yeah, she can. Yeah, she has a good slice as well. So yeah, I mean, it might be one of those things like when nobody was really volleying until recent times, when serve volley tennis was kind of gone for a long time, and then now you got like Alcaraz and all these young guys, Rune, coming in and serve volleying randomly, and it might be something that if you can figure out how to use the slice, an advantage because no one else is doing it. So yeah. It's definitely useful though.
No, I agree. It swings and roundabouts, doesn't it? Like there's different styles. There's the era of the baseliners, then it's like the era of now they'll kind of all court game being able to play in different ways, and I feel like that's where we're going towards. Whereas, as you said, prior in history anyway, it was more serve volleyers with the smaller rackets, etc. as well. That's what they'd have to do to be successful, or is more efficient. Actually says, anyone see Roger answer questions on Twitter yesterday? So sad he won't be commentating at Wimby. Oh, will he not? Ah, sad. I thought he would be. There's a lot of rumors, but that's why you don't trust rumors until it's confirmed, I guess.
That's right. We'll do it for him, and then when he gets there next year, you can all ditch us and watch him instead.
Exactly. Or he can audition us. He can audition for us.
Exactly. Yeah.
Trial stream. Exactly. Yeah. Javier says, "Do we think Mukova can go on a run?" I mean, she could be one of the dark horses. What do you think? That's decent.
Look, I've been pretty bullish on Mukova, but I don't think she's been that good lately. Like, yeah, she could, but she was playing way better in on the hard courts. I think she might have made a quarterfinal or 2 quarterfinals.
Yeah, she made round of 16, Rome and Madrid. No, sorry, Rome, round of 16, Madrid. She round of 64, so she lost to Begu. That's not a great victory.
Yeah,
lost to Badosa though, round of 16, after beating Georgie and Trevisan.
Okay, not bad. Yeah, that's a good. Yeah, that's a good. I think maybe what's her record? Something like she only play a handful of matches. So I mean, she could, but in terms of like players that I would pick to go on a run, there's more players that have got more clay court wins. I think she might have like 3 or 4 wins from Rome mainly. So
yeah,
you could go on a run if she gets a good draw, but other players that I've been looking at, Vondrousova, for example, or all those kind of players.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Julia says Philippus has helped him with his net game. I think talking about Tsitsipas. I don't know. Have you seen? Did you see improvements with Philippus? Do you think with Steph's net game?
I saw Philippus' classic, almost like one of the last serve pure serve volleys. So probably the last serve volley to make a Wimbledon final. So he was. I saw a lot of the serve was bigger for Steph, and the volley, and he was being more proactive coming to the net. And I don't think that'll go away from him, but it's one thing to do that when someone's telling you, hey, go to the net every point. When that guy's not there telling you what to do, and it's just your parents telling you what to do, then he might not do it. It's not automatic. So having Philippus not next to him, it's like going serve volley this point. I don't know if his dad's going to be telling him to do that. So, but yeah, his net game was a lot better. I mean, he wouldn't have beaten Medvedev twice on hard courts if it wasn't for the volleys. So, yeah, and he's got good volleys. He's just rather stand back and just rally, which on that backhand is just waiting for the shank.
No, that's fair. Brand says, most important question, will Trevisan defend her points and stay a seeded player? Lol. No, I don't think so. What do you think?
No, I think it's the only tournament that she's kind of got, and it would be if she loses first round, she'll be going from whatever 25 to 75 or something like. But I think what happened was she made the 2020 quarterfinal, then 21 didn't do much. Then last year made the semis. So if that pattern continues, she won't do much. But I don't know. I mean, is she going to defend the semi-final? Probably not. But will she stay in the top 30? She makes the fourth round, maybe. I don't know.
TBD. Dutchy says, did Felix get rid of Uncle Tony yet? Something needs to happen to fix Felix's game. I don't know. Is he still in? I don't know if he's still working with him, actually. It's like on and off, isn't it?
He rocked up the other day. Might have been in Madrid or Rome. I saw him there.
He may as well. I mean, Rafa's not doing anything. Now everyone can't be like, oh, you're playing Rafa, so and he's not.
Felix has a bad French Open. What is Uncle Tony doing? Like to help? And also what's Uncle Tony like? Is this guy getting better from what I'm saying? So they're probably going to both have a talk. If Felix doesn't get to he got to the fourth round, lost to Rafa because Uncle Tony went to sat in the middle.
Yeah,
if he didn't play Rafa, would he have made it further? Maybe, but no excuse now. So if Uncle Tony and Felix can't work it out and they lose in the third round, I mean, both of them have to think, well, is this the way forward? I don't like how Felix plays at the moment. I'm not a fan of the slow, long 3.5 hour losses. Like this is not fun. I loved it when he was in 2021 when he was playing that sort of aggressive all round. It's sort of what the new guys are doing. I think he's just trying to play Uncle Tony's influence, just like really slow and just not. He's got every shot, but he just doesn't put them in.
Yeah, I think what's happened is that he's tried to change his game so it's more clay court friendly, but he needs to be able to adapt his game to the surface that he's playing on. And there's obviously like a core structure to your style, and then you like build off that, and then you tweak where necessary. But I feel like he's almost like, I'm just going to play this style of tennis, and he's struggling to switch out of clay court mode. And then now we're in the clay court mode, but he's now lost a lot of confidence playing that way because he's lost a lot of matches in the prior tournaments. Yeah, I mean, I think he is best when he is playing aggressive tennis. I think he's got a huge serve, like his forehand's a weapon. He's got a good touch and feel at the net, good lob, decent drop shot. Like he's great defensively as well. His backhand does need some work still. It has improved. Slice has improved a little bit as well. So there are some areas of improvement, but he's a natural returner. So I just don't understand why you wouldn't try and get him to play an aggressive brand of tennis. And I get it might not be as conducive on clay, but you can still play an aggressive brand of tennis on clay and have success. Like If Federer didn't have Nadal and Djokovic every year, he would have won it like 6 or 7 times probably, Roland Garros. So people forget that, and I'm not saying that he's Federer, but what I'm saying is that you can have success with aggressive tennis. Like, look at Rublev. Like, he has an aggressive brand of tennis, and he's having success on clay, and he's definitely not as talented as Felix. But because he hits his forehand with so much topspin as well, and paced with the court, then he gets that sort of purchase that Uncle Tony, I guess, is looking for. So I don't know. It's an interesting one. Let's see how he gets on at Roland Garros. But I have been very disappointed with him this year. I think it's one of those things that I've been thinking about this year. Like, I barely ever see him because he gets out so early in tournaments. Like,
I don't think
so
I watched him much. He's
crazy.
But it's like, it's weird because he's not that old. Like, he's probably closer to Alcaraz than he is to Medvedev. In age.
I think he's 22. I think 21.
Yeah, 22. So he's basically in that core group of those young guys. But he plays. It's like when he came out on tour, it was like he was playing like that new style we see from the Runes and stuff, and then he's trying to play more like what Medvedev and Zverev play, so that more defensive grinding game. And you're like, nah, play like the guys that are winning right now are the guys that are playing. Well, besides Medvedev the other day, but like the Alcaraz and Runes, they're the guys that are going to take over. So play more like them, and because he can play like them. He played like them, but it's just it's so hard to watch him just go to play, and then he loses. Like, he lost to Lajovic. Lajovic was having a great couple of weeks, but it's just like it's just all so frustrating to watch him.
No, I agree. I mean, even like Zverev, you're saying about Zverev, but Zverev plays his best when he's not necessarily playing super aggressive tennis, but he's playing assertive tennis. Like, as soon as he starts getting stuck in, I'm just going to go across the court and play safe tennis, he just plays terribly.
Right. I spoke to Misha Zverev the other week and name drop, and then he asked me about what should change, and I said when he plays Alcaraz, he needs to be more aggressive because he just stands back and like takes a beating, and then he's like, okay, so if he changes it, we'll know they listened.
If he changes it and he loses, then Misha Zverev will come back to you and say your advice is rubbish. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, someone mentioned that to me actually, that he spoke to Misha Zverev and was it Petkovic?
Wow.
Yeah. Yes, I didn't realize. So I had a look on your channel after, and I listened to a bit of. I need to listen to all of it, but that's so cool. How did they get? Did they just like contact you in the stream or something when you're streaming?
No. There was one of the producers from Tennis Channel International reached out.
Oh, awesome! That's very cool.
When to figure out what happened. Yeah, and I'm like, well, I'm going to be streaming. Is that okay? So the chat, some of the people in the chat got to listen in. He asked me how to fix the server, and I was like, oh god. He's like, what do you think should happen? What should Zverev? What should Sasha do in his game? How should he fix it? I'm like, because we have a running joke on the channel that every double fault we talk about, it's a Zverev thing. So
yeah, exactly.
I hope he doesn't watch that much.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, it was very rare. But yeah, it'd be hopefully. I think Zverev plays his best. Yeah, exactly, when he is aggressive, and I mean, we've seen
when he starts going line with the backhand, like he's got his skeleton in terms of like his game is similar to like Felix, is really good, arguably better. Like, I feel like if you're talking about teenagers, like after Alcaraz, he was actually one of the best teenagers. Like, he beat Djokovic in a World Tour final when he was like 19. Like, people don't remember that. Yeah, exactly. Like, he was a really good teenager, and then I feel like he just hasn't really progressed much since then, and that's been the real issue. I think he just kind of stalled a little bit. But anyway, we could probably do a whole hour on Zverev and how to fix his game, and then probably go completely wrong. Brad says, do you all think the threat of losing number one will put more pressure on Iga, or the possibility of being number one put pressure on Saba? I'll let you answer that one.
I think Sabalenka's got more pressure because I kind of go back to think, was it last year's Australian Open? When it was sort of the number one ranking was up, like Zverev had to win and Tsitsipas had to win and they could be world number one. And there was like a legitimate, I could do this. And then they fell apart. I like I was saying before, I was going through the math because I know I'm going to get asked every single day of the tournament. I think if Swiatek doesn't make it to the quarters or better, or it might be, if she doesn't make the semis or better, doesn't matter what Sabalenka does, she'll be number one. She could lose first round and still be number one.
Yeah.
But I think I would trust Swiatek to deal with the pressure and get to the semis than I would trust Sabalenka not losing. I think she has to make it to maybe to the semis to secure it or something like that. Even if Swiatek wins, something like that. There's some very close in the points, but I would trust Swiatek to deal with the pressure more than Sabalenka to. Even though Sabalenka's probably got a more likely chance of getting to world number one, she has to do less. But she could lose in the second round because she knows she has a chance, and then Swiatek makes the semis, and we don't talk about it. But yeah, I trust Swiatek more under pressure than Sabalenka.
No, I agree.
At the moment.
I agree 100%. David says in the press conference, essentially, I took the advice of this Aussie guy. Obviously, it didn't work.
Yeah, unsubscribe to him.
Yeah, DJ, put myself in there.
That's the one. That's it.
So, what did they want to discuss specifically?
As in, I think they just had me on because they just wanted to talk about how YouTube works and sort of.
Okay.
That kind of thing.
Get some insight into it. They're trying to get tips for their channel. That's why. Be like, where's my money for my advisory fee?
They wanted free advice.
Exactly.
No, it was cool. That was really friendly. I haven't talked to many pros, so it was really that was really, really crazy. They were really fun, very laid back. It was for a professional setup. It was very relaxed, not very strict. They were just joking amongst themselves, and Misha Zverev was getting boba tea, and he was getting Uber Eats or whatever, and we're just all there. It was just a big old chat, and not really talking much about the match, to be honest. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Pugsy does great count showing them how to do it. Yeah. Well, I must have. They watch. What's that? They watch. That's what they asked. They wanted you to put myself in there. But do you have a put myself in there?
I do. I don't know if you can hear it. I don't think it'll work now. I don't know if it'll work now, but
yeah, I can hear it. Oh yeah, of course. That sounds robotic now. Put myself in the air.
Yeah.
Oh god. Oh, that's hilarious. I love it. Oh god. Ashley says, what do you think is going on with Caroline Garcia this year? I'll let you answer that one first because I have no idea.
Okay, I'll tell you what it is. It's called the WTA Finals curse. It's a thing. It's a real thing. It happened to Muguruza. It's happening to Garcia. That's all. That's the only explanation.
That's very true, to be fair. Muguruza.
It's the only explanation. It's the final. It's the WTA Finals curse. That's all. That's it. There's no other.
It's almost like Muguruza knew that it was the curse because she's played for a couple of months and she was like, "I'm gonna take a extended break, go on holiday, chill in Spain, and then I'll be back later." She's like until it wears off. Maybe Caroline Garcia needs to do the same thing because, it's crazy, absolutely crazy. I mean, I hope what happens to her isn't what's happened to Kontaveit as well. He's just gone completely off the radar, so weird. To be fair, it happened to Badosa as well because there are these players that had a lot of points in the back end of the season. I think it was in 2021, wasn't it? And then in 2022 they didn't replicate it. So it was Badosa, Kontaveit, and Muguruza, and then they just went out of the top 50. It was like bye bye. And I was like, whoa, crazy, absolutely crazy. But yeah, and then it's so funny because last year it was a bit random, and then this year it's these three top players now have just come through and no, we're going to be consistent, and everyone else is hold on, give us a chance because we were last year we felt like we had a chance, maybe not in all the slams, but in the other tournaments, but not letting us even have that. So I know, crazy, absolutely crazy. Tim says, which ATP WTA player has the best shot at winning the Roland Garros or Wimbledon double? Ooh, that's a good question. That'd be very hard.
I have no idea.
Okay. ATP WTA. Okay, so ATP side.
Is easy.
Well, it has to be Djokovic, right? I mean, I don't think anyone else. I can't see Alcaraz winning Wimbledon, in all honesty. So, and if he was to win Roland Garros, I think it would be incredible if he did. I have people unknown on grass, Rune is an unknown for me. No idea how good he's going to be on grass. Sinner showed some quality last year, but Could I see him winning back-to-back slams? No. I mean, the thing is as well is that you have to remember, like when you're asking this question, Tim, is that if someone who's never won a Grand Slam wins their maiden one at Roland Garros to then win back-to-back slams you've got like a 0.001% chance of that happening. So it has to be someone who's already won a slam, which leaves Djokovic, maybe Medvedev. I can't see Medvedev winning, Wimbledon either. So that's really it, because the other people who won slams like Wawrinka and Cilic, they're not, and people like that, they're just not really contenders at the moment. WTA side, Swiatek is probably not one because I can't see him winning Wimbledon for a while. No. Rybakina or Sabalenka, they could do it. If they were to win Roland Garros, they would be one of the favourites at Wimbledon. So they'd be top 3 favourites, to be honest. What do you think?
I mean, on the women's side, like we're saying with Jabeur, should have done better at the French. One of the favourites for the French before she lost first round and then made the Wimbledon final. Probably should have won that Wimbledon. So, I mean, and her game translates very well. I mean, she goes from like winning Madrid and then she won like Berlin in the warm up. So she maybe could. I mean, yeah, I'm the same with Swiatek. Like, watched her last year. The streak was broken in Wimbledon, and it's weird because it seems like a lot of players that play really well at the French don't really just completely disappear. Like, I mean, Alcaraz didn't play until he made the quarters of the French and then lost pretty early. Tsitsipas was the opposite. He lost kind of early at the French for him, and then he had the best grass season he's had. I mean, team was always French Open final, second round loss at Wimbledon. And it's not, I mean, I think we take it for granted because, Wimbledon, French Open double, Djokovic and Nadal, and we're like, oh, they did it. They're also like,
did Djokovic do it?
Ever. I don't actually. Sorry, not Djokovic.
Rafa in 2008, right?
Roger, 2009, Roger. But yeah, you kind of go, oh, well, they did it. But then before that, who did it?
Yeah.
It's who's got the best shot? I mean, Djokovic. That's the easy answer because he did it. No, he did it in 21 because he did the career slam. He was going for
of course. Yeah, he did it in 21, And then Rafa, the reason why I'm talking about Rafa because he was the first one to do it, wasn't he? Where he won 2008, he won Roland Garros, Wimbledon, and won the Olympics as well. It was incredible. Yeah. I was like, whoa. But
on the women's side, but you're right. On the women's side, it's sort of it's probably more likely that Sabalenka and Rybakina would do it because they Wimbledon would be the hard one, would be the easy one for them, and whereas Swiatek winning the French and then not playing until Wimbledon like she did last year, and going to Wimbledon after a French Open win, it's completely different. So if Sabalenka or Rybakina won the French, then you would say, well, they could do it. Yeah. Maybe not. I mean, Sabalenka would then have the pressure of like calendar slam, and everyone would be talking about that. So maybe Rybakina is better off winning, trying to do it. But then, like I said, Jabeur, I think she can translate pretty quickly on. I mean, even Coco Gauff can play on grass, but she just played terrible last year.
Yeah,
she made the French Open final and then lost, I think, like third round. So I was like, maybe not this year, but one day.
Yeah. Francis Garcia and Muguruza sold their soul to win that 20. Oh, God.
Yep.
Classic. There's a couple of questions on YouTube, which I can't bring up because they're in the question. For next time. Dutchy said, how are Felix and Shapovalov going to do at Roland Garros?
Watch Andreescu. Canadian hopes are better with Andreescu.
Yeah. Fernandez might be
you know what? I've got a question. Who do you think will do better out of those two? Who do you reckon? Would you trust Shapovalov to do better? I think Shapo, personally, I think he might do. He lost to Rune first round last year. He's coming in with like no real form. So he might just be able to like make a fourth round. But Felix has the pressure of being the guy. But what do you reckon? Who do you reckon will go further? Or they both lose first round?
I've got zero faith in Shapovalov. I know it sounds really harsh, but he's just I can just see him coming in first round, spraying the ball everywhere. I actually think probably Felix. I think if Felix can win, I think Felix could win the first round. I think the draw is just so pivotal because Felix gets someone in the first round who just loves the clay and he's even if he's a wild card French player, like if he gets Arthur Fields or something first round, he could lose. He could easily lose. And Shapovalov, I think if he gets anyone who is got good shot tolerance, he's just gonna start blasting everywhere, I think, and then he's in trouble because I just like he's a nothing recently, has he? I didn't even remember. Has he been injured? Like what's been going on, Shapovalov? I just feel like he's gone off the radar.
He pulled out of Rome, but then I mean I don't think I watched him. Maybe watched him once this year.
Yeah,
but, I think I watched him in Acapulco, maybe.
Yeah,
but I don't know where he's. But that's why I'm like, well, Felix has been. We've known he's been bad, whereas if it was Shapo, he hasn't done anything. We don't know what he's capable of. But they'll probably both lose on day
1, 2 and
3.
Yeah. Oh god. Oh, classic. Anyway, Tim Hodgkin says Rybakina's Rome win makes. Oh, that's fine. We've answered that already. Biggest surprise Rome winner heading into Roland Garros as serious contender. So basically saying who was the more surprising Rome winner, Rybakina or Medvedev?
Medvedev.
Yeah.
Because he beat. I mean, Rybakina beat Vondrousova very well. Ostapenko was really good. The Swiatek win. Does that match finish the way? If it finishes, does that go the right way?
Yeah.
But I mean, Medvedev beating Zverev again. This time in straight sets on in Rome, and then the Tsitsipas win, and then the Rune win. I mean, those were way more.
Yeah, definitely.
Random.
Yeah, I think if Rybakina. Yeah, I think Rybakina had beaten Swiatek without retirement, then you're like, okay, maybe it's kind of on the bet. At the moment, not really. Dave says, tournament director prediction for next year, will Feliciano Lopez keep his job? Also, what's the worst tournament on tour? Oh my god.
Okay. We did this year. We played a game about this. I mean, look, it was Feli Lopez to blame because of the cake and the speeches and the ball kids or the ball people. Like, I don't know if is it on him, I guess, but I mean the cake thing was I don't know what you thought about the cake situation, but I kind of was thinking, well, the guy from Spain got the big cake because he's from Spain. The ball kids you could change the ball people. I mean, we don't need to have models. And then the speech thing was weird, but then again, did he make the call? Like, so I don't know. I think he'll keep his job, but.
Yeah, it depends on who. I agree. It just depends on who made these calls. If it's him, then he's probably in trouble. But yeah, the cake thing, I'm not as. I mean, I think it was a little bit overkill with Alcaraz, a little bit, because it was a bit like they went really over the top with it, like encore, like spring. I was just like, okay, you can relax a little bit. Like it's not that big a deal. It's not like he's 21 or anything. Like it's not that big a deal. And then. For Sabalenka, I think obviously he got shared. She was a little bit upset, but she wasn't like she kind of just shared it like with a sad face, and I was a bit like, okay, it's not great. But then to be fair, Holger Rune got a small one as well. So I think it's more as you said. I don't think it was a male and female thing. I think it was a Spanish thing. But then should it have been that?
Yeah.
If you're an international tournament, then. Maybe if it's not like it's Davis Cup or something and they're playing in Spain, like I guess it's an international tournament, so maybe they could have been a bit more tactical with how they're going to do it. But I don't know. But the other bits are just like the models unnecessary. Like I get why people were a bit annoyed about that and like just stick to one consistent dress code for everyone. Like why is that difficult? And then. The speech thing was just outrageous. Like, I don't know who decided that, but that was just crazy. I've never seen that before. So that was absolutely mad, to be honest with you. Worst tournament, though? What's your worst tournament?
There's, I mean, look, it's the ones without the roofs. They're the worst ones because we just have to sit around and watch rainfall for hours.
Yeah, that's true.
Miami was. Look, it's hard because the matches were good, but Miami was. The ceremony was hard to watch. I mean,
it rained a lot as well.
The rain was painful. Rome wasn't as painful because it was painful. We sat around for hours, but Yeah, probably Miami, especially because they moved to a new venue and they didn't think about weather. Whereas Rome, at least, it's been there forever, so it's kind of like it's expected. So I'm gonna say, but Miami was pretty ordinary.
Yeah,
but the matches were good.
That's true. Yeah, there's Naples, the shambles, the court. Yeah, I remember that was weird. Yeah, Rome, Miami, Indian Wells, Dutchies going in. Happy with those tournaments. Thoughts on the women singles ceremony in Rome?
That
What
was
about
the
it?
worst. That was so unorganized. I don't know what they were doing. Did you? I don't know if you watched. Did you see it?
I watched some of it, but I don't. Too far, I wouldn't have seen as much as you. I think by the sounds of it, but
just felt bad. It was awkward. It was really awkward because they were speaking Italian to the crowd, but they weren't translating to the players.
Yeah.
So the players were standing there just waiting to do things, and they're like, "Oh, you can get the trophy now." And then I think Rybakina spoke first, and then the runner-up trophy came. It was just all over the place. People were booing and cheering and going nuts, and I just felt it was just I just felt bad for the players because they were just kind of standing there like, "Do we talk now?" And it was at like midnight. That whole situation was that women's final was tough.
Yeah, no, agreed. Okay, last couple and then we'll wrap it up. Jermaine says one-seeded players might make week 2. I think we've kind of touched upon that a little bit already. So we said there's a few other of the unseeded players. But if you had to pick maybe one man and one woman, Cam, who do you pick?
On the women's side, I think Callan Sky has been good, but she was injured in Rome, but I think she's been good. So I'll go with her. And she beat Rybakina in Madrid, which I think is, beating Rybakina on a fast court is impressive. So I'll go with her. And on the men's side, I'll go with Baez. I think he won today too, so it makes me feel better as well. Yeah. So I'll go with Baez. He's been like he should have probably maybe beaten Zverev last year at the French.
Yeah.
So I'll go with him. And he's basically Diego Schwartzman, but 10 years younger. So if Diego Schwartzman can make the semis, then Baez can get a good draw and maybe make it far. I'll go with them too.
Yeah, no, it's very hard to disagree with that. I think those are two really good picks. So I'm happy to revert to you on those for sure. Cam, thank you so much for being on. I think we've come to the end of the question. I think we've actually got to all of them. So thank you guys for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Hit that like button, subscribe. Of course, go over to Cam's channel. I'm sure everyone already has, and most of you I know will even subscribe to Cam's channel before mine anyway. But the link is actually in the title of this live stream, and it's also in the description as well. So you can just click on that and also tune in actually, because I won't be doing anything, but someone on the channel will be doing the stream for Rude versus JJ Wolf in Geneva. So yeah, tune in for that. And Cam, thank you again. Really appreciate your time, of course.
No worries.
Guys, stay safe and well, and we'll see you on the next video. And I'll timestamp this after, so if anyone that missed large chunks of this, I'll go through it after, timestamp it, and then you guys can pick and choose what you want to listen to. Yeah, thanks very much, guys, and we'll see you tomorrow for the draw preview. And I know you're doing it live, so I'll try and tune in for that as well.
Sweet.
See you later. Thanks.